Hey guys,
Hey, good morning.
good
Howdy.
morning. It's beautiful Monday morning outside, which
That's right.
the first thing on my mind is what does our investment committee do?
Interesting Monday morning thought.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But no, in all seriousness, we do have an Armstrong Dixon investment committee. And so we are fortunate enough today to have two of the members on our call. I'm a pseudo member, I get the minutes. So I will grill today and you guys can answer. Um, but I always enjoy reading your minutes from your notes and stuff. So why don't you guys tell our fan base a little bit about what the Armstrong Dixon Investment Committee does?
absolutely. I'll start with just a quick overview of how it works. So the investment committee is made up of five, sometimes six people with Katie. It's all of the CFPs of Armstrong Dixon, me, Skylar, Tucker, Greg, and Joe. And we meet every 3 months. So basically every quarter, after every quarter, towards the end of the month, we look at a litany of different subjects and topics within the investment landscape. Main ones are we have model portfolios that we put together that have our recommended positions, our recommended allocations. And we first look at how those have done over the last 3 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and as a whole. So then we look at that compared to a benchmark. So we always have to benchmark ourselves against something because if you're not, then you're just doing it against yourself, and that's not really appropriate. So we have different target risk benchmarks that we look at to see how we're doing against the indexes and how that would look. And then we look at individual positions within those portfolios to see how they line up and how they did compared to their peers, compared to the index, and compared to other the peers essentially is what I was going to go to, but compared to other positions within that same asset class that we use. Um, so that gives us a deeper understanding of are the managers doing what we hired them to do? How
Hmm.
are they compared to if we just invested directly in the benchmark or passive investment, which we do both. And then we look at the overall positions versus how other model portfolios have done from other managers as well. So it's a pretty comprehensive look at our recommended positions. And then there's a bunch of other things that go into that, but those are the two main ones that we focus on every quarter.
Nice.
So we're reviewing investment managers and how they're performing against their peers and the index. And then we're looking at the overall mix of those investment managers and how they play into the portfolio as compared to other portfolios of a similar risk tolerance. So that way we can sort of look and say, hey, is there something going on with this particular manager? Or if all of the managers are performing appropriately, is there something that could be improved, or what's going well, what's not doing well with the overall mix of the investments in the underlying portfolios?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So do you have like internal metrics then that you accept or reject positions to bring them in or kick them out?
Yeah, so we look at the FI 360 fiduciary score, which takes into account qualitative and quantitative factors, whether it's how's the performance doing, what's the risk adjusted performance, how long has the management team been in place, is the investment sticking true to its underlying goal or how it's supposed to be invested, or if it's deviating. And so that'll give us a score based on a percentile. And we're looking at least of what's in the top 50%. So it's doing better than half of the other investments that are out there. So that's your median. And then if we see prolonged or continued underperformance, not just from a performance standpoint, but from the quantitative and qualitative factors, then we would look to remove an investment.
Okay. And then you guys said you meet how often? I know, but I'm prepping it for our clients. How often do you guys meet?
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yes, so we meet as a group quarterly, but there's discussions happening all the time where it might not be in the formal investment committee meeting, but we have discussions about the portfolio, discussions about managers, and we look at drift tolerance is, and what that would be is how far away from a target is the one of the positions or the asset class from where they should be based on the recommended portfolio and allocation. So we do that every 2 weeks, and then if something is happening that is far out of our drift tolerance, that's when we would trigger something called a rebalance.
Okay.
And that is something that's very important. We always preach portfolio management and rebalancing and making sure that we're taking advantage of what's out there, but also allowing the portfolio to run a bit. If when you say, because if you have too small of a drift tolerance, or say you're going to rebalance every 2 months or every quarter, that might not be needed, and it could cause unnecessary trading. But if you have a drift that is a little bit wider that allows the positions to actually benefit from market growth, then you can say, okay, this is now where where we wanted to be, and maybe a little bit further. Let's go ahead and sell high, buy low. So when you rebalance, you're typically selling something that's done well to buy something that hasn't. And then over time, that gives you a better result of long-term performance. And it's also based on the client's risk tolerance, where they are. So each portfolio is a little bit different. So
Right.
it's unique, but it allows us to do it at scale as well when you have this system.
Right. And I would imagine the key to rebalancing too is that's what you'll see with a lot of newer clients or prospects coming in. Maybe they did do a great job and picked great positions a long time ago, but things have gotten out of whack because one position got super large. Looks great on paper, but you, then have some allocation risk, I suppose, or diversification as well. So. Yeah, and then I know you also mentioned a lot of R models, right? A lot of what you talked about was centric on R models, but we do leverage some of LPL's, centrally managed portfolios. Is that part of the investment committee?
Yes, absolutely. So we look at the different managers that we research, and say, okay, this is a good portfolio that fits our long-term view of how a client should be invested. And then we look at how they've performed. We say, okay, are they in line with what our expectations are? How does that compare to our internal ones? And what changes are happening? It also gives us good education on, the talking points that are happening within the economy, within the global economy. And we also talk with multiple different money managers, not just ones who are running portfolios for us, but in general, to get outside views. So that's not just, what we see is happening, but we're also making sure that we capture various different aspects and talking points, to give clients a better understanding of, what's really going on in the world. So some big examples of that could be Vanguard, BlackRock, American Fund/Capital Group, a lot of the bigger money portfolio managers, but also some of the smaller ones that are more niche, like Dodge and Cox, for example. So it's a really good process, and it's a way for us to stay true and honest. And we also use different softwares to get a deeper dive within each of the different positions to say, okay, how are they invested, and how does that match up with our portfolio as a whole?
Yeah. Any final comments, Guy?
I think Nav says it all
So
correct.
eloquent.
Yeah.
So eloquent. All right, well, good. Well, that was a good. Hopefully, that gave some folks insight on kind of what we do on that investment piece. It's such a large part of the assets under management and with the services we deliver, and it matters. So we appreciate you guys, and till the next one.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks.